Our house had always been a busy one, filled with the sound of footsteps echoing across wooden floors, the chatter of children, and the smell of home-cooked meals. My husband, Daniel, worked long hours as an architect, and I balanced teaching part-time with raising our two kids, Emma and Jack. Life often felt like a never-ending cycle of errands, responsibilities, and late-night cleanups. That was why, years ago, we made the decision to hire someone to help us keep the house in order. That someone was Linda. Linda was in her mid-40s when she first came to us, with lines of quiet determination etched into her face and hands that looked like they'd spent years working tirelessly. She wasn't loud or talkative. Instead, she carried herself with the kind of humility that made you feel safe in her presence. She worked with efficiency, never wasting time, but what always struck me most about her was how much she cared. She noticed the little things: how Emma liked her bed tucked in a certain way, how Jack hated it when his socks got mixed up, how Daniel preferred his coffee strong but never quite too bitter. Over the years, Linda became less of a house helper and more of a quiet member of the family. She wasn't related to us by blood, but in many ways, she held us together. She was there during birthdays, family dinners, and even late-night emergencies when the kids fell sick. I thought I knew her well enough, but I soon realized I hadn't even scratched the surface of her story. The day she surprised me with her unexpected request began like any other Saturday. The house was filled with the smell of pancakes and maple syrup as the kids ran through the living room in pajamas. Daniel had stepped outside to mow the lawn, and I was loading the dishwasher when Linda came into the kitchen, holding a folded envelope in her hands. "Mrs. Sarah," she said softly, using the name she'd always called me, even though I'd told her 100 times to just say Sarah. I looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Linda. What's that you've got there?" She hesitated, her fingers tightening around the envelope. "I have something to ask you. Something important." Her voice carried a weight I'd never heard before. I wiped my hands and pulled out a chair at the table. "Sit down. Tell me what's on your mind." Linda sat slowly, her back straight but her eyes lowered. She placed the envelope on the table between us. "I don't want to overstep, but I trust you and Mr. Daniel more than anyone. You've always treated me with kindness, and I need help with something I can't do on my own." I leaned closer, sensing the seriousness of her words. "Of course, Linda. You can tell me anything." She finally looked at me, and I saw tears glistening in her eyes. "It's about my daughter." Until that moment, Linda had never spoken much about her personal life. We knew she had a daughter named Claire who lived a few towns away, but Linda rarely shared details. She was private, almost guarded, about her family. "What about Claire?" I asked gently. "She's 17 now," Linda said, her voice trembling. "She's smart, talented, and she dreams of going to college. But money has always been tight. I've been saving every dollar I can, but with rent, food, and the cost of living, it's not enough. Claire just got accepted into a program she's been working for years to get into. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance." But she broke off, her hands trembling. "We can't afford it." I felt my chest tighten. Her words weren't just about money. They were about hope, sacrifice, and the kind of love only a mother could carry. "What are you asking me, Linda?" I said softly. She pushed the envelope toward me. "I've written a letter explaining everything. I was going to try to apply for financial aid or maybe a loan, but I don't know how. I was wondering if you or Mr. Daniel could guide me, or maybe just give me advice. I don't want charity. I just don't want my daughter's dreams to disappear because of me." For a moment, I couldn't speak. The weight of her humility, her quiet bravery, struck me. She wasn't asking for money. She was asking for a chance, for her daughter. I reached across the table and took her hand. "Linda, you've given so much of yourself to our family. The least we can do is stand by yours. Let me talk to Daniel. We'll figure this out together." The relief that washed across her face was almost painful to watch. Her shoulders, always so stiff with burden, seemed to soften. She whispered, "Thank you, Sarah." I didn't know who else to turn to. That night, after the kids were in bed, I told Daniel everything. He listened quietly, rubbing his chin the way he always did when he was deep in thought. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "Sarah," he said, "we can help her. And I think we should. Linda has been with us through everything. She's more than just someone who works here, she's family. If her daughter has a shot at a better future, we should do whatever we can to support that." I felt tears prick my eyes. I thought the same. We called Linda into the living room the next day. She looked nervous, like a student awaiting judgment. Daniel smiled warmly at her. "Linda," we talked it over. "First, I want you to know how grateful we are for everything you've done for us. You've cared for our kids, our home, and us in ways we can never repay. Now it's our turn to be there for you. We're going to help Claire." Linda covered her mouth with her hands as tears rolled down her cheeks. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Daniel said simply.
And she did.
The next few weeks were filled with phone calls, paperwork, and applications. Daniel used his connections at the firm to find scholarship opportunities, and I helped Linda write essays and gather documents. We even invited Claire over for dinner one evening so we could meet the young woman we were helping. Claire was bright, polite, and brimming with ambition. She spoke passionately about her dream of studying nursing, of one day giving back to the community that had raised her. As I listened, I realized that everything Linda had worked for, all the long hours, the sacrifices, were reflected in her daughter. When the acceptance letter with the scholarship came, Linda held it in her hands as though it were a treasure. She cried openly, unashamed, as Claire hugged her tightly. The room was filled with so much joy that it was impossible not to cry along with them. From that moment on, things changed. Linda still came to work every day, still folded laundry and polished the wooden floors, but there was a new light in her eyes. A weight had been lifted. Her gratitude wasn't in words, but in the quiet smiles she gave us, in the way she hummed softly while working, in the way she hugged Emma and Jack like they were her own grandchildren. Months later, at Claire's high school graduation, Daniel and I sat in the audience alongside Linda, cheering as Claire walked across the stage. It was a moment stitched into my heart forever, not because of the cap and gown, but because of what it represented.
Hope.
Resilience. The unbreakable bond between a mother and daughter. Linda's unexpected request had started as a quiet knock on the door of our hearts, but what followed was a lesson in humanity. It reminded me that sometimes, the most ordinary people carry the most extraordinary stories. All it takes is a little compassion to uncover them. Even now, years later, when Claire calls us to update us on her college life, I feel proud, not of what we gave, but of the trust Linda placed in us when she asked for help.